So today we've been riding the KTM 250 XC TPI and the KTM 300 XC TPI, and I've got to say that I'm really impressed with the bikes, and I've got Ady Smith here along with me. These are his bikes. We've hustled in on your day, haven't we, today? And I've been lucky enough
just by chance you've been here at the right time.
Yeah, and rode the bikes. And the reason why we selected these two particularly to talk about is just because how impressive they are. I mean, the full fleet is impressive.
Still my favourite bike, the 250 over the 300. I don't know why. I just feel that the 300 does feel a little bit heavier. If you weight them the same weight, it's obviously something to do with the gyroscopic effect of the engine spinning.
I know what you're saying. It's basically when you come into a turn and you roll off the throttle, you feel a lag, don't you? It just feels a little bit more weighty.
Yeah.
Something there. It's same for me regarding jumps, and it's just for me. I feel like the 250 you can clear the bike out a lot easier.
Yeah,
just
freer revving.
Yeah. So for me on the motocross scene, that's what I like. I like that it clears through the rev range, and the 250 does clear a lot easier than the 300. There's nothing wrong with the 300. It's just that if you're comparing the two bikes, which we obviously are, the 250 it does kind of win. It's one of those bikes, isn't it? It feels light through the trees, feels good around a motocross track.
More flickable. And the other thing is, on a motocross track, you're always on the gas everywhere. There's never a time on a motocross track where you're really lugging it in a high gear. Ever.
So that's where you get the most from them, don't you? When you come into the turn, you just leave it, let the bike, and it'll drive. It drives out, and that's credit to the engineers over in Austria, isn't it? Really, because the bikes are just on
spot
point.
on, absolutely spot on. You just put petrol in them, put oil in the tank, 700 ml of oil, and then for about 5 tankfuls of petrol, you just forget about your 2-stroke oil.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we might have jumped ahead of ourselves a little bit, because most people might not realise what the difference is between the XC and obviously the EXC.
The main difference is the frame, the swinging arm, and the link. So on the EXC, you've got the PDS, which KTM have had for years, where the shocker bolts straight to the top of the swinging arm. With these, it's virtually the same as an SX frame. Obviously, you've got a side stamp lug there, but it's the air forks, the same as a motocross bike, softer sprung, less oil, same shock as a motocross bike, obviously softer sprung, different valving, bigger tank. But this bike is more like the motocross bike than it is for the Enduro bike.
Well, that's what I'd go for, because obviously they're universal. I was out there riding on a motocross track and it was fine, for me. And then obviously bringing it into the woods is brilliant. So that's more than that's more than what anybody needs, is what I was going to say. To be honest, the difference obviously from the 250 to the 300. The 300, if you're a little bit lazy, you'll probably like that bike, because obviously if you don't want to be changing up and down the box a little bit, and you certainly don't rev it, then you will favour the 300 a little bit more. If you're maybe a little bit more competitive, then you're going to be favouring the 250, aren't you? 2020 KTM 150 EXC TPI. This is an impressive bike, and obviously new to the range this year. So how do you feel about the bike, Ady? What do you think? What's your first impressions for you?
Well, pretty excited to ride it. If I'm honest with you, out of all the bikes, this was the one I wanted to get on first, because I'd seen what Tadej Blazusiak had been doing on the launch of the EXC range, and in theory, a 150 with electric start, at fuel injection, it should be flawless, and it was. Like everybody that's rode it today, everybody loved the bike. The ECU manages the fuel that goes into the engine. Nice little pipe here, completely different to anything I've ever seen on a KTM before.
Yeah, the bend of it's totally different, isn't it? It isn't coming straight out of the exhaust port there and turning right, is it? It's got a kink to it. But I mean, just to touch base on the how it feels out on track. Personally, I felt myself it was light. It revved. It encouraged you to leave it in a gear when you come into the turns a little bit more, and it would drive it out. Coming through the woods, obviously me and you both went through the woods together when you was on the 250 and the 300, and one time I was on the 150 behind you, and I come into the turn and I actually didn't want it to be revving, and so I just left it in that gear and let it drive the torque. And normally you would have to pick it up on the clutch, maybe get a little bit out of shape because the power's coming in at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want that to happen on the tree roots or when you're coming in between trees. So
No.
and I know it didn't really get me into trouble. And if anything, it got me out of trouble because I could. It would cater for my needs. So when I left it in that gear and just let it drive, it did pick it up, and like you said, it ran like a really efficient carburettor 150.
Yeah. Thing with like the old 150 from last year, you'd ride through the woods there, you come through the woods, and as soon as you get onto a motocross track, it chokes up a little bit with a carb. With this, you can go as slow as you want through there, whack it open on the motocross track, and it's clean straight away.
You know, because you've had a lot of different people today on the course,
Different abilities,
different abilities,
styles,
yeah. And so for us, the 150, win-win.